some of the issues that come up in a game, obviously, is you want to start better, as you talked about in Game 1, but balancing pressure versus patience, wanting to let the game come to you. How do you as a coach get that message to your players? Obviously, you want them to start better, but balancing, playing the right way, doing the things that got them here.
Yeah. I think our team, the way we approach them is just through tape, as far as showing them different situations when we're not as patient as we should be. Let's say when we're forechecking, all different situations with the game, patience versus as far as getting on the attack. The biggest thing is I think when you're trying to be aggressive, and we're going to be aggressive, sometimes you have to fight another day in certain situations and not overdo it, because it puts you in a bad spot going back the other way. So it's just reading the ice. We try to help them with tape. I think our guys are feeling pretty good about how we should play, and have been successful in a number of minutes throughout the playoffs here in just that, balancing those type of situations.
John, if I could take you back to the time where Nick Foligno had to leave the team a few times for the situations that he was dealing with his kids, what type of perspective does a team get when that goes on? Does that carry over into the playoffs? And if I could also ask you, what did you learn about Nick as he handled those situations?
Well, it doesn't carry over to playoffs. We kept the family business separate from hockey. That, to me, I don't think you use family and the situations that family has been going through as any type of motivation. I think it's apples and oranges. That's real life stuff versus a game that we're entertainers and just playing. So for me, we don't bring it into our room. As far as Nick's absence going through it, it just gives other players opportunities to take some of his ice time, to fill in some of the leadership that he brings with us as we're going through that, because there were a couple of instances he was gone for a little bit. So it just gives the next guy that comes into the lineup or whatever it may be, or the leadership group that we have to step in his absence.
Did you learn anything about Nick that you didn't already know through that time?
Oh, I know Nick very well. I respect Nick as far as how he has, he gets it as far as what's the most important thing, and that is your family. And I always say to the player, if your families are doing well, this is your number one priority, the game of hockey. If there's something else going on that is not right with your family, hockey is second to it. The stuff that was going on there, I talked to Nick daily when it was going on, probably 2 or 3 times a day. We never talked hockey, never. He wanted to, we weren't going to, because there was more important things going on than hockey.
Zach obviously had a tough play the other night. Not to get into that, but coming back in the next game, you've coached him 2-3 years now. Do you know him enough that you go into tonight's game and you pretty much know what you're going to get out of him? I mean,
Zach
Werenski, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Do you know what kind of is that? Would something like that drive him even more?
He's going to be fine.
With Josh, you've talked about how when he's on, he's obviously contributing in a lot of different ways. And he's a big guy on the ice that you notice. And when he's off, he's a big guy on the ice that you notice too. What does he need to do to be a more impactful player in Game 2?
Yeah, he needs to be noticed more. I do. I don't think we played a bad hockey game. I certainly don't think we were the better team. The better team won Game 1. We need more guys. I think we did get to our structure. I think that's the first thing we need to, as far as after just a crazy first period for us. But Josh has to be a guy that brings attention to himself. That's the best way to describe him, and I've said that about him from day one when I've met him and see what he can do for this hockey club. And he's a very important guy in this series, and he's one of the guys that needs to be better in Game 2.
Yeah, Torts, just...
Hey, Chaser.
Hi, bud. How are you?
What's going on, man?
A little bit of radio.
Okay.
listen, you guys sort of made a turning point after the trade, and you talk. I've heard you talk about it in different interviews, or you could feel it coming a little bit. And then your first two periods weren't your best at the start of the last series. Was there a time where you stepped back and said, the leaders have this, I don't need to coach much anymore? Because it seemed like there was a transition of just a completely different team.
Yeah, I'll go back to the when we're in situations like that, we as coaches certainly bring up some points that needs to be rectified. But if we're going to be successful, we can't be in there all the time, basically making sure they're talking about the right things or the readiness of the next period coming out. That's their time. And I do it. If we're going to be a team that is going to keep competing in this playoffs, in this series, and try to be successful, that room has to self-sustain. It has to take care of itself also. We're guidance counselors. We try to guide them, and then we leave them alone. And then they have to come together and decide how they're going to go about it. So that's an important thing as a team that, it's not a team with a bunch of experience in this situation. That's how I think you grow quicker as a team, by not being babysat through it. You give them your points as coaches, try to give them a road that you want them to go down on, but they've got to take over from there. And I think you get your team in a situation, in a much better camaraderie when you allow them and get out of the way.
So was there a time when it happened? Did you feel it happening?
It wasn't after the first period, because we were in there. I was in there after the first period because we just weren't talking about the prior series. I felt that happen in the middle of game one there, when we started playing better, and obviously a very important time there was the save at the end of the penalty killing save, and then we go down and score. We don't go down 4-0. We go 3-1 with Nick. That's when I could see the bench start taking over themselves, and just a little bit of confidence coming their way. I do think camaraderie and just a collective confidence amongst the team without coaches' voices being in there is very important if you're going to keep progressing as a team.